Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Marriott's on the move.
What?
Marriott's on the move.
Again?
Marriott's on the move.
If you're dreaming about moving to a new city to pursue the life of your dreams, this podcast is for you. Moving 18 times in 23 years to 5 of America's top cities, I know it's not easy to make those decisions alone. I help you develop the dream, the plan, and the move, even if we need to get scrappy to get you there. I'll be doing interviews, career and city spotlights, and sharing my crazy moving stories, tips, tricks, and scams to avoid. Traveling to explore your dreams has never been easier. Now let's get moving. All right, welcome to the show, everyone. I am very excited for today's episode for a few reasons. So I have Brittany, who is a registered nurse and an international board-certified lactation consultant. They are a mom to many as a bio and foster mom and have taken their experience to create a community of parents who are parenting outside of the norm through their podcast, The Odd Mom Pod. Moving is a frequent and uncontrollable experience as a military spouse, and Brittany has learned to harness her abundance wherever she lands. I met Brittany through a public speaking group that I'm in, and I cannot wait to talk about the speech that she is creating right now because I feel like it's just going to lift so many people up. So we have lots to talk about: military moves, moving with kids. I mean, like all the stuff. So Brittany, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, I mean, I know I just gave you a bio, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so currently I have 4 kiddos. Being a foster and a bio mom, I range in children. I've birthed 3 of my children, but I've had up to 7 at a time. So 4 is where we're currently at, and we'll probably be for a while. My husband is a pilot in the Navy, and so moving has become a frequent part of our life. And so I was super excited to kind of chat about forming community and things like that, because sometimes you have to harness the abundance of where you're at in life, because as a military spouse, like, we don't get the opportunity to pick where we move or when we are moving. And so it's important that even though we can make all these dreams and plans, like, it's still important to find and make community and make the best of what our current situation is, even if we have plans for things later.
So how many times have you moved? Have you counted?
Well, so a lot.
Because you're in Oklahoma City now, right?
Yes. So my husband and I are both from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah, so we were.
My cousin's there now. I think she's still there. She's military, former military too. So she like goes and she landed there on her way to Colorado, I think, and just like loved it and stayed.
Yeah, I feel like you either were born there and you hate it and you want to get out of there, or you move there later in life and you move there because it's like exactly what you're looking for and you absolutely love it.
Yes.
Growing up there, I hated it, but now as an adult, when I go back, I'm like, I could see it's probably not the best place to raise a family, but I'm like, I could retire here again, like, or build a life there later. But I'm like, it's interesting. And so that's why I love your podcast, talking about, doing all of that and taking a part of all of those into your decision of moving somewhere. It's really important.
Yeah. And when you're growing up somewhere, like I know, because I grew up on the south side of Chicago, in the southwest suburbs. And I remember thinking like, there is nothing here. I was 45 minutes from Chicago. Like we never really went downtown. We went downtown every once in a while. And then like as an adult coming back there, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. It's just kind of perspective and like what you're looking for at the time.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. So that's where we met and were married, and our first daughter was born. And then we actually moved to Houston, Texas for about 4 years. And then from there, we went to Pensacola, Florida for 2.5
Right.
years. And then we were in Corpus Christi, Texas for 6 months.
Oh man,
And
so you left Texas and then went to Florida and then went back to Texas?
yeah. And then now we've been in Oklahoma for 3 years next week, actually.
Wow. So when you for those that are listening that don't know about military moves, so I have a lot of military in my family, so I'm somewhat familiar, but I've never really like done a podcast around it. I've had people who were military, but not like active. So like so your husband just gets like marching orders and like that's it, you got to go.
Sort of. So it's really dependent on like what your job is in the military. And of course, like the branch of military, every branch kind of does it differently of how they like break up their tours and how often you move or how often you get new orders. So in the Navy, we joined, and then my husband was sent for training and was away for training for a few months, and then we all moved together, and then we moved every time he had to go through a new portion of training, and ended up in Oklahoma City. And this was his first like real command where we've been somewhere and been doing deployments and all of that fun stuff. But for most, it's usually about 2 to 3 years that you're in an area, and then you get a new set of orders or a new job. For the Navy, it's like 3 years of like sea duty. So that's like when you're deployable. And depending on your job, like my husband's flying all the time. But if you're on a boat, that's when you're out to sea more often or things like that. And then after your 3 years of sea duty, you get like 3 years of shore duty, which means you're at a non-deployable job. And so depending on like if my husband's a pilot and he took a job where he's teaching at like an ROTC program at a college for his shore duty, we could move, or he could be picked up for an instructor where we already are, and we could end up staying here. So the nice thing about the military is they don't like to give you any warning. Last time when we moved from Florida to Corpus Christi, we had 3 weeks notice to pack
Oh my
up and
gosh.
move our life. Yeah.
Have you heard of Monat or Modern Nature? I hadn't either before my friend Monica was raving about their skincare products that she's obsessed with. I took their hair quiz to find out which product line would be best for me since I just happened to be looking for new shampoo and conditioner, and I signed up for their VIP package that got me a little bit of everything to try out. Turns out they are the first anti-aging hair care line in the world, which I didn't even know was a thing. And their products are gluten-free, vegan, and Leaping Bunny certified, which means they're never tested on animals. Now I'm obsessed with their rich formulations that feature botanical extracts, essential oils, and other naturally based ingredients, and I want to share those products with you. I'll put the link in the show notes, or you can hit the faves page on my website. It's safe, EU approved, and clinically tested by third parties, so essentially, robustness approved. Now back to the show.
Boom. Play it.
Have you ever listened to a commercial on the radio or a podcast and thought, I could totally do that? Well, I am challenging you today. Being a voiceover artist is an amazing side hustle that can be done from the comforts of your own home. Heck, it can be an amazing career. Just ask Jesse Carroll. Jesse's got over 1,000 voiceover credits to his name. Ever watch Backroad Truckers? He's the narrator. He's also done a ton of commercials for brands you would definitely recognize. If you're ready to try your hand at voiceovers, go to marriottsonthemove.com and head to my favorites page to learn more about his new digital course and coaching package. If you use code MOTM, you'll get 20% off at checkout.
Hey, Micah Burgess here. I just wanted to drop in for a second and let you guys know that we are rebranding my podcast. We've got a new name, My Doula Micah, my birth, my baby, my life. And we are super excited about extending the content that we've got going from childbirth to postpartum. Now we're including family and marriage and just kind of your life in these childbearing years and what that looks like, and maybe give some helpful tips and wisdom. I mean, you know, I'm 51. I got 6 kids. I think I can help you guys with some stuff. There will still be local interviews, of course. And I'm also expanding now to have including more nationwide interviews. We even have somebody from Canada and Australia. So I'm super excited about this process and what we've got in store for y'all. So join us.
That is so disruptive.
Yeah. Yep.
What is that like with kids?
Chaos.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where, it creates like almost like a traumatic experience, but that's where it's so important to learn how to like quickly research and quickly find a place to live, and like being able to absorb all of this information about a place that you just found out you're moving to, you've never heard of in your life, and you just essentially get dropped off there and you have to figure your life out and build and start over. And so it's really difficult, but honestly, I've also learned a lot about how to build a community and how to start my business over from scratch multiple times. And, building a community it's tough when you just kind of are like, here you are.
What's happening? What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's got to be taxing on your mental health, but it also is probably exciting to have a fresh start. Do you live on base, or are you able to live off base because you guys have kids?
No, we live off base because I'm a stoner, to be perfectly honest.
There are strict rules.
Yeah. You can't have paraphernalia on federal lands. So
or guns.
Yeah.
We learned that we were visiting my nephew was in Columbia, South Carolina. He was in the Army, and we had driven down there to visit. I don't remember where we were going. We were passing through for some reason. And my dad is concealed carry. And so he had a gun in his truck and was very honest about it. And then they were like, nope, you're not coming in. And like, that was it. We just he came out, we went to lunch or dinner or whatever but it was like, that was it. Like, we couldn't do anything, even though he was like licensed and everything to carry in the state.
Yep.
But they are very strict, which for good reason, right? We want to protect our military, and first and foremost, thank you for serving, because I know you serve just as hard as he does. So thank your husband on behalf of us, and thank you for all that you're doing, because like, that's got to be really hard, Yeah,
I think you have to really learn how to, like I said, you got to learn how to find that happiness and fulfillment where you are, and sometimes you get moved to the middle of flipping nowhere, like Oklahoma. Like, I had never
beauty everywhere.
Exactly right, though. Like, and honestly, that's what we had 6 months notice. We knew when we moved to Texas that we were moving to Oklahoma. So that was the first time that we had like that much notice. And it was so nice to actually I came up here twice to like make sure when I found a home, like where I was picking out, because I knew this was going to be somewhere we were going to be longer than we had been other places. Like, when you're somewhere for 6 months, it's kind of like, we'll live in a cramped apartment, and it is what it is.
You did a city POC per se.
Yeah,
right? You stayed there for a couple days, figured out where you wanted to live. I mean, I think that's hard too, because you do have children. And are your children younger, or how old are your children?
My oldest is 10, and then I have my bio kids are 6 and 4, and then our current foster son's 3. So I kind of have a little bit of a wide range. But schools were really important in our choice, because we knew that our kids would be entering middle school, and now our 10-year-old's going to be entering middle school in the next couple years.
Wow.
So it's interesting, and it's hard too, like when you don't get to pick where you move, sometimes you get really screwed with getting somewhere that doesn't have great schools. Yeah. And so, when we decided whether or not we were going to live on base or not, obviously, I mean, the weed was one thing, but the area of like, or the schools that are accessible to the base or in that area, it's really important. And so coming down and kind of figuring out the area, I toured different builders. We were trying to decide what we were going to do for the housing situation. And this was in 2021. So like interest rates.
Everything's crazy.
Yeah,
Awesome.
our interest rate is 2.2%. Like that is unheard of.
I thought I was good. I'm at 2.8.
Yeah. And like
That's
2.2
amazing.
is unheard of nowadays. But when
Yeah.
you close, we closed in March of 2021. So they were nice and low. But we toured builders because we knew we were going to be building sight unseen and moving without getting to look at houses. And so we decided to go with a new build versus an established home. And so it was important to like do that research. And I'm very thankful now. I think it really did help the transition of us moving here and being in a new place, especially a place I didn't really like want to be. To be so much better than I expected it to be. And I actually will say now I don't hate Oklahoma like I thought I was going to. There's some things I would
Okie.
I'm like,
what do you love?
I'm like, there's some things I would change, don't get me wrong. But overall, honestly, I think my community here is fantastic. And we live up in Edmond, Oklahoma. So we decided to live a little bit further outside of the city. We're sandwiched in between a bunch of farms, which I actually love and did not realize that land and fresh meat and eggs and all of that was like something that made my heart and body feel so good.
Oh yeah.
You know, when we were in Pensacola, Florida, that's not really where you're getting like
you're going to farmers markets maybe, but it's not like
you're not like getting grass-fed beef on the beach. Like
right. Like from the cow that you point out right over there. You're like, okay, can I have that cut up for me? Awesome.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
One of my best friends in the entire world, her name is Piper. She's from Oklahoma. And so I know a little bit about it. Actually, one of the reps that work with me, he's from Oklahoma too. So I've heard all the stories. I don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah, I think it's really at this like interesting point because I struggle here politically, being a non-binary person and a member of the LGBTQ community. That is a concern and a struggle. Especially we recently had like a non-binary teenager killed in one of the bathrooms here at the high school. Because there's just a lot of anti-trans and anti-gay laws and it spurred a lot of hate. And so, you know, as somebody who is in that community, this definitely wouldn't have been somewhere that I picked. But I will say being in the city and in Oklahoma City is actually a lot more accepting and it's really kind of growing and establishing itself as trying to change, I feel like. And so I haven't had as much opposition or like, I don't know, discrimination or those type of situations as I had expected here. And I've really been able to find my community, which was something I was really worried about, you know, coming into and being able to find people that were loving and accepting of my family and who I am and those types of things. And so it's a good reminder that like it can be found there and that you just sometimes have to really look for it, but you have to put in the effort to do it and to find that community for sure.
Yeah. So how did you go about that? Because I imagine from a safety perspective, you were probably a little concerned, right? Like you're throwing caution to the wind out there and just hoping that the right people see it, right?
Yeah. I have the privilege of passing as a cisgender woman very easily when I take my hair down and put makeup on and I can wear a dress. And so,
and you're also married to a man.
I'm married. I'm in a heterosexual marriage. And so a lot of that really does help. And I do have a lot of privileges in that aspect, with being able to kind of get away with it. Otherwise, honestly, Facebook groups are a
Yeah.
huge godsend. Anytime I'm moving anywhere, that is like one of the first places I go is to look up what type of groups are in the area. In Edmond, there's like an all things Edmond, and anybody can post pretty much anything in there. And there are some very interesting things that get posted
Imagine.
in there. Somebody's like, well, let me take a look at this cow. Is this sick? And then the other person's like, this other person's like, where can I get Botox? Like, it's a very interesting, it's a very interesting mix of people, but like also I kind of love it. But that's honestly where I kind of started doing research and just watching posts that get posted in there. I like using the anonymous feature in a lot of those groups too, because I could post in there looking for, LGBTQ affirming families that would like to be friends or things like that, or looking for, I'm very openly about being odd and parenting differently. And so I'm not really afraid to put myself out there, which I think is a huge benefit because a lot of people are very afraid.
Yeah.
Um,
And rightly so. I mean, there are
Yeah.
some really ignorant people out there that, are not kind. I'll
Yeah.
say that in the nicest. I mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
Even when we have a pride flag that we hang on the front of our house, and after we put it up, our neighbor 3 doors down started putting up like all kinds of really ridiculous, not so kind flags. And I actually got a note on my door from another neighbor being like, I just want to say thanks for being proud to be out there and having that anyways, because it said on there like our teenager is part of the LGBTQ community, and like knowing that there's another safe person in this neighborhood in a place that feels very regressive is so helpful. And it's just like such a reminder that when I have the position of privilege to be able to do that, like I can take the brunt in order to help maybe a child or somebody who isn't confident enough to be that. I think it's important.
Well, that is. And I mean, I think as an adult, especially with the experience that we have and the things that we've lived through, like we can see things happening before they do. Right. And I think that that's part of just being a good human and lighting the way for others that are in the path that you're in. Right. I mean, I became the coach I wish I had in my 20s and 30s because I didn't have anybody to ask. Right. My family, I came from a freakishly large family. My mom was one of 11. My dad was one of 6. I've got, I think, 42 first cousins on my mom's side alone, right? I think there's like 23, 24 on my dad's side. But nobody had really left Chicago. I mean, my aunt moved to Northwest Indiana, which is, 30 minutes from Chicago. So when I wanted to move to California, people acted like I was cutting them off forever. Like, I'm never going to see you again. I'm like, no, there's these things called planes. It's 2003. We all use them. Like, but at the same time, like I got it. Like we saw each other at family parties. I mean, we didn't see each other a ton. And I think there were, parts of the family that saw each other more, but it's scary when you don't know what to expect and you don't have anybody to ask. And at the time, like the Facebook wasn't a thing. So, I mean, I think we had MySpace, but I don't know that it was set up the way that Facebook groups are.
MySpace didn't have groups like that. That wasn't a thing. You were kind of limited to who was like in your local vicinity. It wasn't like a search for network type situation.
Yeah. I remember too being able to put music on my profile, and I love the fact that like someone could come to my profile and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is a great song." Why doesn't Facebook do that? Like, I think that it's a huge miss there. But yeah, so like, but back to like building a community. I mean, I think it's really important to be able to express to people, and especially, I mean, part of the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast was just to talk about like, one, how do you find community and how do you build it when you're brand new? Because I think a lot of times when you're going through a move, it's super stressful, right? The last thing you feel like doing is going out and putting yourself out there and meeting people. So like, how do you overcome that part?
We made a plan that anytime we move anywhere, we spend the first 3 months doing all of the things that Yelp says you should do if you visit that area.
I love that.
And it taught us to find and enjoy things in that area. And when you find a place that you like and you start repetitively visiting there, like you start to build that community in the relationships there. And so like we made friends with bartenders, we made friends with some people that we saw 3 times at a brewery, you know, like those kinds of things. You really just have to find your niche. And then once you find where you are happy and where you get that fulfillment in that area, just keep going back there and take notice of the people that are there. I know a lot of other people too. Like I have a lot of good friends that use like Bumble BFF and things like that to build community too.
I like Meetup. That's another one. I've not used that, but I've heard things.
I'm a little too old for all that stuff.
You're not finding your friends on the TikTok?
No. I like my Facebook groups. I feel like those are like, they're the older, like we're like the mid generation where, you know, but then like a lot of it is I love going to free events in the area. So like I will often join, like there's like the Events OKC page or like websites that will like what's going on in OKC this weekend. And you can go in there and they will have like a calendar of all of the local or free events that are going on. And just starting to really explore what's out there. And especially when you're a part of a community like the LGBTQ community, it's really finding your people will happen at events where those are safe spaces. And so it's really just looking for it. And even though that's really hard, it really helps you kind of fall in love with where you're at when you kind of see the lay of the land and see what's available and out there.
Yeah, I think it's hard because my first thought is I moved places by myself, right? So I didn't always feel comfortable going out to meetups by myself because I didn't know the areas. Like I didn't know, and my real estate agent, even if I was renting, like they're not allowed to tell you whether or not it's a safe area. Like, I mean, you can kind of figure it out, but I mean, I love the idea of going to a Facebook group and saying like, hey, this is, you know, is this a safe space? Like even doing it anonymous. Like, I don't feel like they always had the anonymous button. I think that's like one of the best features ever.
Yeah.
But being able to say like, hey, I would like to go to this thing. Does anybody want to join me? Or like, can I meet up for coffee and like know somebody first? And because it is scary. And especially as a woman, like there are a lot of, you know, people that will willingly take advantage of you. And if you're not smart and self-aware, that could be an issue. That could be scary.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely resonate with making sure that you're not going somewhere alone, especially in a new space. The military spouse community, I'm very lucky in that aspect because there is a military Facebook group for every base that you could possibly end up at. So like if you find out you're getting, like when we figured out we got orders to come to Tinker, which is the Air Force Base here in Oklahoma, you can look up like Tinker Air Force Base families and like people will post in there and be like, hey, we're set to arrive in June. We have this. Would anybody recommend some places or anybody like to connect? And honestly, finding those little friendships have been huge. And now, you know, I like to make friends with the younger girls because they are the ones who are out there. They are on Bumble BFF and they create like a clan of people. And then I just have to meet one of them. And then you just get sucked into the group.
You're like in the tribe. I think, well, so I also, like I look at what brings you joy, right? And I know, and I can't wait to talk about your speech and what that's going to be about. But I think for me, I looked at it like, okay, I love coffee. I love dancing. I love karaoke. So like part of my values exercise, like if you join my Monday mailer, it sends you this like 14-page workbook on things to like think about and consider before you move. And one of it is like values. Like, what do you like? Do you are you somebody that goes to bed early and wants a quiet neighborhood, or do you love like the nightlife and want to be out until 3 a.m. and you're cool with like loud and crazy neighborhoods? Like, do you like to go dancing? Do you like, how can who are 10 people that that might know somebody in that city that could introduce you on a blind friend date, right? Because that's what happens to me. Like, I moved to San Francisco, and a guy that I worked with, his name is Danny, he introduced me to his cousin that had lived there for a couple of years. She was a travel nurse. So she had a whole community of travel nurses too that were from all over. And so being a transplant, like even just finding the transplant communities, like who are new or who are also exploring, like you'll figure out right away if you have chemistry with somebody as a friend pretty quickly. And I feel like those are the people you latch onto. So
yeah. And I think, we have to remember that joy too comes a lot in our perspective. And if you go into it, I've learned as a military spouse, when you're dumped somewhere, you can either go into it with the thought of like, I'm going to find my community and I'm going to make the best of the time that I have here, or you can get caught up in how much you hate it and become isolated and miserable and sad and alone, and it can turn into a really negative space for you to be stuck in. Yeah. And so it's important to like find people who have that same mindset of like, let's go out and explore and learn together. Because it helps. And I do like finding the transplant community, because I think we all kind of get in there, whether it's military spouses or just new people moving to the area. Travel nurses is a big one. I'm a nurse, so I have lots of travel nurse friends.
Yep.
But you have to just find people who enjoy finding like the golden nuggets of the place that you are, and really learn to like love the place that you are.
I love that you guys do the first 3 months and like all the events and all this. Oh, I have that same Stanley, the rose gold one and everything. Twins.
It's a goodie.
It's a goodie. For those on the YouTube channel, Brittany just showed her Stanley. I don't have it tonight. Usually I have that recording because it holds that much water. But anyway, like you probably build a bunch of gratitude for where you're at by doing all the fun things in that area, and like can appreciate that, which is also a great perspective to have going into it, because you can fall back on something that you liked, that you did when you first got there if you get bored, or that's awesome.
And a lot of times too, you can like find like seasonal things that, and so like finding those like newsletters of like the like influencers in your area too. They'll post like all of the really good restaurants to go to, and like those little like micro influencers in each of the areas. Find them, because they really do know where all the really good stuff is.
Yeah. When I first started this podcast, I had this woman, Dre Fox, on, and she is, I think it's like CLT Dre or Dre CLT. And she just started like a movement, and like half the stuff that I figured out how to do, like the extensions that I had, I just took them out not too long ago, but like I watched her get extensions. So I got went to the same girl, and like I saw her doing all these things. And then she had a meetup for like anybody that was following her. And if we got to a certain point, like 10,000 followers or something, like she would host like 2 hours open bar, and she did. And like we got to meet a bunch of people, and like I brought a couple of my neighbors, and she brought the neighbors like met other people, and like we've hung out with them. Like we met this woman who she was like big in thrift store shopping, and like she had, her whole profile was about thrifting and like her finds in CLT. And so like one of my neighbors, Ashley, like went with her to a thrift event, like cool things like that, where like you're meeting people when you least expect it, but you also, you still rely on your personality. And if you're outgoing enough to move somewhere new, you probably have it in you to make friends rather easily. And I think that leaning in on that, while it might sound exhausting, it could actually like lift you up and make you a little bit more grateful for like the community that you have. So.
Yeah. And I think it's important too. Like you can even like when, as a military family, when I find out that there's an option of like 3 different places, I will go and join those Facebook groups for those 3 options and start to like kind of look for my community before it's even a set thing because it's so much easier to come in and say like, oh, hey, I'm moving there this weekend. Finally, let's finally grab coffee because you already have this connection and you have somebody to go and explore that with. So like even looking for those types of groups or getting into those support communities before you actually make the jump is so helpful.
Yeah, because you can start building relationships with people. And even through like, I mean, I've gone so far as to like, we've talked on the phone with people. I've talked on the phone with people, right? It might sound weird because it's a total stranger, but if you're in that group and you're like, hey, I'm into this, this, and this, and you meet somebody that's also into those things, it naturally becomes a friendship. But if, you know, like you'll be able to tell right away whether or not like you'll connect with somebody. But I love that idea too, because it makes it less scary when you are actually moving to meet people who are not only were in the group probably before they moved, but then got there and they're like, oh my gosh, this has been my experience. Avoid this, try this. Like, this is cool. So they're again, lighting the path for you, which I love. So, but let's talk about your speech.
Yeah.
Okay. Say the title. Cause I made, when Brittany and I were talking before we hit record, she said it and I was like, I like that. I'm like, wait, say it again. Like, I just loved it. So
thanks. I'm so excited. It's called Unlocking Abundance. It's how to escape fleeting fulfillment through self-connection and intentional action. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm really excited. In the same group. So I actually am in the Mic Drop workshop where we met, but I'm actually doing the Spring Academy. Like,
you are. So my friend Meredith that I was telling you about before we got on, she's in it too.
Oh, how funny. I bet you her and I have chat. Yes. So, so I literally just had my like one-on-one coaching call with Jess, like 2 hours before we got on here. And we've been back and forth for like a week or two trying to figure out the name of it. And I've had like the same idea of what it is, but it's so tricky writing a keynote speech. I had no idea how much work goes into being a public speaker. Like I thought like
how much work goes into making it look natural.
Yes. And like having it make sense. Like it's a process. And so, that's the goal. I finally am done with my keynote, named it today. Yay! Yep. So now I'm just going to be putting all the finishing touches on, my website and things like that and start pitching myself to get out there. I have 3 books I'm working on in the works that follow kind of the same framework and all about kind of the same thing, but I have it aimed at 3 different age groups. So I have those who are just seeking self-connection on their own. I have one that's called Reparenting Through Parenting, and it's seeking self-connection and learning how to parent and teach your children how to have self-connection as you're learning it in yourself. And then I'm writing a kid's book that teaches basics to self-connection for like the 8 to 12-year-old probably range. And so, I'm working on a lot of things and hoping to really get out there and help change people's lives and help them find abundance because it's out there.
It is. And I think, can you give us maybe like a little a nugget of like the self-connection, something that people can look forward to in that part? Because I think that that's really hard. I mean, I often talk to people who are like, I want to leave. I just don't know where to go. And I'm like, no, like it's connect to that small, still voice in your body and like really sit and think about it. And when you think of a city, lean into that. Does it feel good? Does it not feel good? Like connect with yourself. Don't stop looking for outside validation. So am I on the right track?
Absolutely. So so when we're looking at self-connection, a lot of people be like, oh, what's self-connection? And they automatically think self-awareness. Self-awareness is kind of what we often think or even like taught in like corporation settings about how to be self-aware. And they'll often tell you all of these benefits of being self-aware, right? Like you're more likely to be creative. You're more likely to be promoted in jobs. You're more likely to be motivated. But when you actually look at studies and break it down, those who are self-aware but aren't self-accepting or aren't aligned in their actions, they actually are at higher risk of anxiety, depression, and they lose all of the benefits of having that self-awareness. So,
Wow.
so self-connection takes it one step further. It's got 3 parts to it. Self-awareness is the first part of connection. We have to understand who we are and our opinions and our values and our goals. We have to be connected to that part of ourselves. We also have to be accepting of all of those parts of ourselves. And often being accepting of all of those parts of ourselves can be really counterintuitive, especially if you've grown up in difficult circumstances or were told you weren't worthy or things like that growing up. That self-acceptance piece is massive. And you really have to learn how to connect to the deepest parts of yourself and really love and speak to those parts of yourself with kindness to kind of change that internal narrative to help you then align your actions with how you truly feel. And that's that third part of self-connection is the self-alignment. And so that's where, when we not only are aware of what we want and what we need, we accept those parts and say, yeah, like it's okay that we feel that way. But then we take it one step further and take action. That is where you're really going to find that true abundance and that true feeling of living with everything and more than what you need. Now, that's not maybe everything that you want.
Right.
In life, because abundance is like a state of being. It's not a state of possession. It's not having everything that you want, but it's being fulfilled and having everything that you need. And so that abundance is in us all the time, and it's can only really be found through self-connection, and we can only really be the writers of our own destiny if we are intentional in our actions through that self-connection. And so that's essentially the whole wrapped up theme in a very summarized version.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this. I can't wait for the books, first of all, and the speech. I think this is just going to be incredible. I think it's hard too, because like you can have self-confidence, and if you don't have that self-worth, like the self-confidence is like your outward, like that's what you show to everybody else. But if you're internally saying like, I don't know what I'm doing, I have doubts, I'm an imposter, then it doesn't matter how confident you are, you're not going to take action. Right.
Yeah.
So, that's huge.
Yeah. It was interesting. Like I didn't really understand self-worth and how much it was rooted in our childhood experiences until I became a foster parent. And in one of our very first things they teach us in foster parenting is that our initial foundation of our self-worth is already set in stone by the time we're 8 months old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How?
Based off of how quickly and how much delight our needs were met as an infant.
It's heartbreaking.
So it starts as soon as you come out of the womb, if you cry and you are cared for. But like on the same flip side, like as somebody who has birthed 3 children, the first 8 months of that transition into parenthood, like you are hardly awake and alive. And so like you're totally
You're delirious all the time.
no, like legit. Like I call it like the toddler coma. Like you wake up one day when they're like 3 or 4 and you're like, what the hell just happened? Like
That's awesome.
and you're like, okay, like now I can start to finally, like not every second of my life is taking care of other people's needs and like having to recenter and have to relearn how to listen to your own needs after quieting them for so long. It's tough. And so it's been a journey, but it's important to teach our kids too, even from a very young age, and everybody teach them the importance of self-connection and that self-worth starts at a young age so that we can understand that that's our perspective and we can change that experience and rewrite it with new experiences, and we're not stuck in our circumstances.
Wow. Yeah, Trent Shelton, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he was a former like NFL linebacker or something. He was on a podcast recently, and I followed him. He I don't even know how I got connected like with watching his stuff, but he's awesome. And one of the things that he talked about on the podcast was like he was doing a really big event. Like he gets like 10,000 people. He'll get an arena full of people and he just like lifts people up. But he was not feeling so great. He was having a rough time. He had a bunch of loss last year and he had a bunch of stuff going on, and he got off stage. Either it was before stage, regardless, whether it was after or before, he went out in the alley to like kind of center himself and like to, you know, kind of just like get to a good place. And there was a homeless man out there, and the homeless man said like, "Hey, you look like you're, you know, not doing well." And he's like, "How could, like, what do you mean I'm not doing well?" You know, like he's like, "I'm dressed to the nines." Like, you know, he's like a fit guy. And, but he had been crying, I guess. And so he, like in the conversation with the homeless man, he like kind of felt a little resistant. So he like just went to pull $100 bill in his pocket. That's how you know he's doing well. He's like, I would reach for like 5 or 10. And he's like, I went to go pull $100 bill out of my pocket and give it to him. And the guy's like, "Nah, dude, I don't need that money." And he's like, "Well, you're probably homeless, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm fulfilled and content. I don't need your money. I have everything I need." He's like, "I'm more worried about you working on you and what you need, because clearly you're not getting that." And he's like, "I had to reset everything that I knew about myself in that moment, because I was looking at this from a like," and I don't think he like generally thinks of it as a wealth perspective, but he just has it because he was in the NFL and like probably made a ton of money. But at the same time, like he's like, it opened my eyes, because outwardly I looked like I was doing well and inwardly I was a mess. And he's like, I had to take care of me. So he came off the road for a little bit, but things like that you like, until somebody calls you out on it, sometimes you don't realize that you are not in that good place or that worthy place. So, oh my gosh, you're doing some important work, girl.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm like, I'm glad you think so, because I feel like it's important, but sometimes I feel like, you know, like when you're in this space, you feel like you're dredging through like molasses, and I'm like, I swear I'm making progress. I swear. But I'm like, also that I look back and I'm like, I've gone 3 feet.
Well, you're also pretty tired. You have 4 children. You are a full-time nurse and like lactation coach. You are probably going to move soon because it's been 3 years, and it's subconsciously you're probably thinking like, we're about to get orders anytime.
Yeah.
You're writing 3 books. You're writing a speech and practicing that. Like, I mean, you got a little bit going on.
Just a few things, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that being said, if somebody wants to follow you and be the first to sign up for your books and your speech and book you somewhere magnificent, where can they find you?
Right now, the best place to find me is on Instagram or LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is just my name, Brittany Sandoval, and then my Instagram is Brittany Sandoval RN. I also have a website for the Odd Mom Pod. It's literally theoddmompod.com, and they can catch our episodes there, but they can also subscribe to our newsletter, so that way when we do start rolling out more of that type of stuff, they'll be the first to hear it and see it. And then we just started a Discord for our listeners to have an opportunity and a space to come and chat after, or bounce ideas off each other in a parenting space and a self-awareness space. And so we have ways.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, I am so excited that you decided to join me on the podcast today. I wish you all the luck in the world. I have a feeling we're going to be very good friends for a long time, because we were fast friends when we started talking. So
yes,
thank you so much for being here and supporting my journey and supporting those and lighting the way for those that, you know, you are one step ahead of. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much, friend. I appreciate you.
Well, I could go on forever and ever about moving you closer to your dreams, but I probably should save some thoughts for the next episode. A big thanks goes out to you for making time for me today. And making time for me, you're making time for future you, and we're both grateful. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the podcast, download the episodes, and leave me a 5-star review. I would really appreciate it. In return, if you go to my website, marriottsonthemove.com, and register for the Monday mailer, I'll send you a free Fred workbook to get your journey started. This is also where you can find all the show notes and all the ways to get in touch with me. A special thanks goes out to Rogue Media for its wisdom and partnership. Until next time, friends, keep moving forward towards your dreams. Oh, and the legal stuff. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I am a certified coach, not a licensed therapist, and this is not meant to replace the professional advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. This is solely my perspective based on my own experience and training. Okay, now it's over. For reals. Bye for now.
This has been a Rogue Media Network